1985, the rights of plebes. The class of 1989 United States Naval Academy. When a plebe first comes to the Academy during plebe summer, he knows little about the history and tradition of Annapolis and the Academy. Slowly, over the next 4 years, he learns both, as first the Academy and then Annapolis become his new home. Hello, and welcome to the United States Naval Academy. Plebe Summer is an intensive training program for the midshipmen of the class of 1989. It marks the beginning of 4 years of struggle and commitment. The training provided by the Academy produces leaders for both the U.S. Navy and the Marine Corps. The Academy's program is designed to provide military, academic, athletic, and social qualities vital to an officer, providing midshipmen with a background in math, science, social sciences, and the humanities, as well as practical training for their careers. 4 years from now, in May of 1989, the members of the class of 1989 will be the 142nd class to graduate from the United States Naval Academy, an institution full of history and tradition. This history and tradition is reflected in the city of Annapolis, the Naval Academy's home. Originally settled in 1649 as a province and Maryland's state capital since 1695, Annapolis is the oldest state capital to remain in continuous use. For a brief period from November 1783 to August 13, 1784, it was our nation's capital. From the State House on State Circle, General George Washington resigned his commission as Commander-in-Chief of the Continental Army in January 1784, and the Revolution officially ended here with the ratification of the Treaty of Paris. Extremely beautiful, declared Thomas Jefferson of Annapolis. The genteelest city in North America, said George Washington of the town he frequented during the fall social season for thoroughbred races, balls, family business, and general merriment. Today, just as it was in the 18th century, Annapolis captures colonial America. When Governor Francis Nicholson moved the capital of Maryland to Annapolis in 1695, he ordered the laying of a Baroque pattern of streets, an interlocking network of circles and radials, what are today Church and State Circle. Maryland Avenue, which runs directly from the Academy to State Circle, is filled with stores frequented by midshipmen. Main Street, which runs from Church Circle to the city dock, only 1 block away from the Academy, is one of the first streets visited by the plebes, for on it are found many local shops and restaurants. But the most popular area for the plebes is the city dock, and most of Annapolis activities revolve around it. Originally a famous harbor for exporting tobacco, tea, and many other items, the dock area is a mecca for sleek yachts. For generations, watermen from the Chesapeake have come here to unload their catch of oysters, crabs, and other seafood delicacies. Seafood restaurants around the city dock abound. After developing his Baroque city, Governor Nicholson next formulated plans to structure his city socially. One section was set aside for artisans, while another shopkeepers. A third section was set aside for the gentry. The colonial flair of Annapolis has been preserved in the restoration of many of these original colonial buildings. History of Yard. The United States Naval Academy was founded in 1845. It all began in 1783 when John Paul Jones, a practical seaman, was impressed with the efficiency of the French Navy, then at the height of its power. He recommended that the Academy be organized at every American Navy yard to teach young officers the latest marine technology and naval tactics. Now, John Paul Jones is considered the father of the American Navy. The original chapel, the central building in the yard, built in 1854, was commemorated in his honor. It was the site of the first graduation. In 1868, a second brick chapel was built, and the old one was converted to a lyceum. The chapel in the modern yard is a third chapel, built in 1908, to commemorate the discovery of John Paul Jones's remains in a cemetery in Paris. His crypt was installed in its present location beneath the main dome in 1913. Most of the religious ceremonies, as well as the organ recital during commissioning week, take place in this chapel. While John Paul Jones is the founding father of the Academy, many other men were responsible for its establishment. Secretary of the Navy George Bancroft, after whom Bancroft Hall is named, helped make the idea of an academy become a reality. He arranged to obtain naval facilities at no expense and to reapportion naval duties so there were no operating expenses. His actions halted all previous opposition. On August 15, 1845, the Army's Fort Severn in Annapolis was transferred to the Navy. On October 10th of the same year, the Naval Academy opened. As the Academy grew in size and recognition, new facilities were constructed. The original Bancroft Hall, now the northeast wing of the building, was built in 1904. Additional wings were added in 1906, 1917, 1932, and 1961. Today, Bancroft Hall is known to the midshipmen as Mother B, housing the entire Midshipman Brigade. It is the largest co-ed dormitory in the world, with more than 1,500 rooms, more than 4 miles of corridors, and it includes stores, shops, and recreational rooms. At the entrance of Bancroft Hall is the Tecumseh statue and Tea Court, which is named after this figurehead. Tecumseh was salvaged from the battleship Delaware, which was burned in 1861 to prevent capture by the Confederate Navy. The figurehead was built to commemorate Chief Tomanend, a friend to the early settlers, but this name never caught on with the midshipmen. It was assigned other names, Powhatan, King Philip, and even Old Seabury, after a resemblance to Uriel Seabury, class of 1967. Finally, Tecumseh caught on, taking the name of a renegade Shawnee chief living during the American War of 1812. In the late 1920s, the statue was recast in bronze, a donation by the class of 1891. Pieces of the original wooden statue are embedded in the new bronze to preserve its mystical power. Commissioning week activities, such as the climbing of Herndon Monument, meal formations, and the march to graduation all start in Tecumseh Court, directly in front of Tecumseh and Bancroft Hall. Today, midshipmen toss pennies at the statue prior to taking their final exams, for good luck. The Herndon Monument holds great significance for the midshipmen. It is a rite of passage for every plebe. At the end of their freshman year, the plebes climb the greased monument and replace the Dixie-style plebe cap with an upperclassman hat. Dahlgren Hall was opened on March 7, 1903, and for a long time was used as an armory. It was the site of John Paul Jones's commemoration on April 24, 1906, and in 1975, it was reopened as a student union. During commissioning week, it is used for the ring dance, the Blue Angel reception, the dance for the graduating class and their guests on Monday night, and the farewell ball. Halsey Fieldhouse was named after the dynamic, irrepressible William B. Bull Halsey from the United States Naval Academy class of 1904. It houses the Academy's athletic facilities, including offices, classrooms, Misery Hall for first aid treatment, the Academy's concerts, and other public gatherings. It is used during commissioning week for both graduation and the color parade in case of rain. Mitcher Hall was named for Mark Pete Mitcher. His loyalty to the Navy was clearly exemplified when, on the eve of the Battle of the Philippine Sea, he braved the danger of enemy submarines and illuminated the decks of the carriers to guide his weary pilots home. The formal hop for the first, third, and fourth classes is held on Mitcher Terrace. Mahan Hall was originally the student center of the Academy and home of the library from 1907 to 1973. It is used throughout the year for plays, lectures, and other activities. It is named for the great naval strategist and historian Alfred Thayer Mahan. John Warden Field usually hosts two important events during commissioning week: the dedication parade on Friday and the color parade, the last parade for the class of 1985 on Tuesday. On my first day as a plebe, I called my father and I told him I'm leaving here. On the way back from the phone booth, I changed my mind, and I never looked back. Spoken many years ago by Admiral Elmo R. Zumwalt, United States Navy, these words express very clearly what must have gone through the minds of 1,389 members of the class of 1989 as they reported on July 1st and 2nd, 1985, to take their oath of office. Among the new plebes were 139 women, 221 minorities, 8 foreign nationals, 194 Naval Academy Preparatory School alumni, and 97 prior service people from the enlisted ranks of the Navy and Marine Corps. The NAPs and prior service plebes who arrived on July 1 know more of what to expect from plebe summer as they've already been through a boot camp environment. They were somewhat used to being lined up, inspected, cross-indexed, processed, and befuddled. But for most of the new plebes, July 2nd was an experience they would never forget. It took all day for them to be processed, measured for uniforms, haircut, introduced to the first class in charge of their first 3 weeks, medically examined, and so forth. By 1730, all the new plebes were formed on Ingram Field, out of the sight of the guests, and ready to march to their seats to take the oath of office. At 1735, they entered between Michelson and Chauvenet halls, and at 1815, the official party arrived, notably Rear Admiral Charles R. Larson, the superintendent, Captain Stephen K. Chadwick, commandant, and Captain John Glenn, senior chaplain, United States Naval Academy.
Candidates and guests, please rise. Ladies and gentlemen, Captain John Glenn, Captain Corps, United States Navy.
Let us pray. Eternal Father, in every age of its history, our nation has been enriched by your blessings. Even in times like these that test the will of her people, America's pride is reaffirmed and her hope sustained on this anniversary of her birth, as she is blessed to hear from the hearts of these her sons and daughters their brave and generous pledge of allegiance and fidelity to the dream that has made and preserved her a nation. Bless our Naval Academy class of 1989. Guide this academy in its mission to prepare them for service of our people. And may our people, especially those to whom their formation is entrusted, their loved ones, parents, family, and friends, be one in prayer, that your grace sustain the dreams and fulfill the hopes that have brought them here this evening. Amen.
The Superintendent, Rear Admiral Charles R. Larson.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, families, friends, and most importantly, class of 1989. I'd like to welcome you to Annapolis and to the United States Naval Academy. I mention this tonight because our primary mission here is to prepare young men and women to be professional officers in our naval service. We will be developing these young people here tonight to guide the direction of our Navy and of our country for the next 40 years. And we think of this in everything that we do. You in the class of 1989 are going to find some things, particularly this summer, difficult, and some things unpleasant. But I want to assure you there's a reason for the things that we do, and we do have 140 years of experience behind our training. There's some unique challenges here because of our mission. Our graduates must have a strong leadership capability. But to be a leader, you first have to learn to follow. Our responsibilities to our country require that we possess the finest sense of integrity and a total accountability for our actions. We've got high standards, and it's tough, but it's worth it. I want you to remember that things that are really worthwhile seldom come easy. What does it take to succeed here? I think determination, self-discipline, a reasonable degree of maturity, and an ego that does not get in your way. Very few people leave here because they lack the capability to succeed. Our admissions process is a very good one. It's a very effective one. And we wouldn't have brought you here if we weren't convinced that you have the talent and the ability to make it. And I might add that this is a very talented class by every measure, both individually and collectively. So by having a tough admissions process and making sure that the right people come here, then our job becomes one of trying to help you make it, to make you successful, to graduate you, not to weed you out. We want you to succeed, and remember that. Most people leave here because they're afraid. They're afraid of failing. They don't have the courage or the determination to do their best and to see it through. And I mentioned a little earlier, egos. There are a lot of achievers out there, a lot of number ones, valedictorians, class presidents, athletic stars. Some people left last year because they could not adapt to being number two and having to try harder. Some of these people were never challenged in high school, and when they ran into their first challenge, they walked away from it. They weren't mature enough to realize the very fine opportunity that had been given to them. But we're looking for mental and physical toughness here. We're looking for leaders with a good academic foundation and people with a will to succeed. So my advice to you is don't look back. Don't compare yourself to others. Set goals for yourself and show that will and determination. You've got an opportunity here to join a very, very fine tradition. Be mature enough to realize what you have. And remember that a habit of quitting too often can turn you into a loser. Have pride in yourself and don't give up. Hang in there, class of '89. I'd like to welcome the men and women of the class of 1989 to the world's greatest Navy and the world's greatest service academy. I look forward to getting to know you individually and collectively, and I wish you well. I would now like to introduce your first commanding officer, the man most responsible for your leadership and professional development, our Commandant of Midshipmen, Captain Steve Chadwick, who will administer your oath of office. Thank you. Candidates rise. Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I state your name. Having been appointed a midshipman in the United States Navy, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same. That I take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion. And that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which I am about to enter. So help me God. Congratulations, 89. Welcome aboard.
Every day during plebe summer, the plebes spend a lot of time practicing formal dress parade routines. The never-ending drill is important to learning the precision needed for a parade. So it was with great anticipation that the plebes looked forward to July 24th, when the Marines from 8th and I Street, Washington, D.C. presented their Sunset Parade. The Sunset Parade offered the plebes a paradigm of precision. The parade is a close replica of the War Memorial Sunset Parade performed during the summer at the Marine War Memorial, Arlington, Virginia, and at the Marine Barracks. It's a reminder of the pride and sacrifice of the young Americans who served as United States Marines in peace and war. The first part of the program consists of the Marine Corps Drum and Bugle Corps performing their Concert in Motion. After the concert came the formal section of the parade: the adjutant's call, fixed bayonets, the presentation of colors, manual of arms, and the receiving of reports.
The Marines at attention perform before thousands of spectators annually. The M1 rifles they carry, with fixed bayonets, are standard for all our ceremonial platoons and are fully operational. The platoon executes its drill sequence without verbal commands. Ladies and gentlemen, Marine Barracks, Washington, D.C. proudly presents the United States Marine Corps Silent Drill Platoon.
Noon formation is held in T Court and the terraces surrounding the front of Bancroft Hall, as long as it's not raining. These formations last 10 to 15 minutes, with plebes marching into Mother B for their noontime meal.
Dice board. Very well. Sir, start battalions formed. Very well. Center! Battalion right! Face! Forward! March! Right turn! March!
The physical education and competitive sports program of plebe summer supports the goal of the academy, the development of an aggressive spirit, personal character, and the moral qualities important to academy graduates. During the year, the program consists of the physical education program, an introduction to brigade sports, and the intercollegiate competition. During plebe summer, it consists of PEP, or plebe exercise program, which takes place at 6:30 a.m. during the week, and in the afternoon by competitive sports. PEP lasts about an hour and is an extensive workout consisting of push-ups, sit-ups, running, tug-of-wars, and many other exercises. For the afternoon program, the plebe can participate in any number of sports.
By the railroad track. Beat me down by the railroad track. With my woman in your hand. With my woman in your hand. I'm gonna be alone. We are the dirty 30 midshipmen of the night. We are the dirty 30, ain't we a beautiful sight? Come on and join our company, nothing gonna get in our way. We're on a march, this trucking company, cause just an 30. Your left, right, left. Your military left. Your military left. Your left, your right, now pick up step. Your left, your right, your left. Your left, your right, now pick up the step. Your left, your right, your left. Hey Jill. Hey Jill. Hey Jack. Hey Jack. And your Air Force blues. different kind of fighting man.
I'll introduce to you.
I'll introduce to you.
His uniform is different.
His uniform is different.
The best you've ever seen.
The best you've ever seen.
The Germans call him Devil Dog.
The Germans call him Devil Dog.
Well, it makes cold duck. That makes me want a sandwich in the cold.
In the cold. Well, it's ice cold duck. That makes me want a sandwich in the quartermaster. Quartermaster's cold. My eyes are dim. Your military left. Your left, your right, now pick up step. Your left, your right, your left. Your left, your right, now pick up the step. Your left, your right, your left.
Hey, Jill.
Hey, Jill.
Hey, Jack.
Hey, Jack.
Come meet me down by the railroad track.
Come meet me down by the railroad track.
During plebe summer, 3 smokers are held: basketball, wrestling, and boxing. The results of the smokers count toward plebe summer color company.
Kevin Bianchi, 1985 varsity wrestling team captain. In the first period, at the start of the match, the wrestlers begin in a neutral position. Each one tries to secure an advantage over the other one down on the mat, in which case they'll be awarded 2 points. As you saw, a 2-point takedown goes to the left. And the final score, 6-3, Dominic Roberts, the class of 1989 158-pound champion. That was a takedown. Also from my 2-2, Gary Berger.
At the end of the 5th week of plebe summer, the all-comers track meet is held on Ingram Field at 1800 hours. It's an exciting evening as the plebes cheer on their friends. All plebes can participate, both men and women, and the results of the meet count toward Plebe Summer Color Company. The plebes in white t-shirts are those plebes who are not participating on the plebe summer track team. Each of the 6 colors correspond to the color his battalion wears during the regular academic year. Port Battalion won the competition. The dress parade is one of the oldest traditions at the Academy, beginning in 1846, only 1 year after the establishment of the Academy. During plebe summer, there are 3 practice parades and 4 full dress parades. The dress parades are judged by first-class midshipmen and count towards plebe summer color company. The first 2 dress parades were won by Bravo Company. The plebe summer regiment of 1,300 plebes is divided into 2 battalions. The port battalion consists of companies A to F. The starboard battalion consists of companies G to M. Traditionally, there is no J or Juliet Company, as it was Custer's Company, the only company to be entirely wiped out in battle. Like all parades, the plebes form in Tecumseh Court. Led by the first class, they march down Stribling Walk. Halfway down Stribling, each company is given the orders, eyes right, and each plebe turns his head right. At the end of Stribling, they turn left onto Maryland Avenue. At Decatur, they turn right. They cross Balk onto Warden Field. Both the port and starboard battalions march onto Warden Field. As each company reaches its position on the field, a right guide from the company runs to his company marker. When the entire company is in its place, the company dresses right. Each mid comes to attention with rifle to his side, rifle butt on the ground. The company commander checks each row to be sure they are lined up. Once the company has dressed right, it's easy to see how it's organized. When all companies have dressed right, each battalion fixes bayonets and attendance reports are made. Traditionally, there are 19 men missing from the port battalion and 86 from the starboard battalion, thus spelling out 1986, the class in charge of plebe summer.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the march on of the colors and the playing of the national anthem.
The brigade is then asked to come to parade rest and then attention. The Navy band marches across the field. The following set of orders comprise the Manual of Arms. Port arms, right shoulder arms, port arms, left shoulder arms, port arms, order arms. The next step in the dress parade is officer's center. At this point, the guidon from each company is brought forward. When completed, cannon blasts are given in respect for the reviewing officer.
Mark F. Overby of Wright City, Missouri. Captain Tim Dillard, United States Marine Corps, is the Bravo Company officer.
The last step in the parade is the presentation of the parade to the reviewing officer and passing in review. As each company passes the reviewing stand, orders are given for eyes right as a salute to the reviewing dignitary. As the companies leave Warden, they continue to march back to T Court, where the parade began. Parents' Weekend began on Friday, August 9th, and ended Sunday, August 11th. This is the first time that parents have been able to see their sons and daughters since the beginning of July.
Massachusetts. I'm from Massachusetts also.
Mama, can't you see what the Academy's done to me? What the Academy's done to me? His voice is like another.
Austin, raise your hand.
In a balloon. Tattoo. That's right. Hey! Hey!
Plebe Summer, 1985. The Rights of Plebes. The Class of 1989 United States Naval Academy. Produced by Thornton Studios, Annapolis, Maryland. This tape is produced independently of the Academy and expressly for the Class of 1989 and their parents.